When we say seed to seal at Young Living, it means that the products you receive to your home were produced, developed, and sent with the greatest of care. And they're the 3 pillars to seed to seal commitment. We've discussed sourcing and science on the Wild Drop previously, and today we are discussing standards. Remember, if you want to get caught up on any of our episodes, you can get the full archive on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. And you'll see a familiar face if you go back and look at our science episode. Richard Carlson is Young Living's Executive Director of Research, and he is back and joined by Jessica Rogers, Product Claims and Substantiation Director. Welcome both.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming back on once again.
Good to be back, Jacob.
And Jessica, your first time. Welcome.
Thanks. Gonna check it off my bucket list.
Love it. Awesome. All right, Rich. So it's been a while since we talked last time about sourcing and science, and now we are on the standards part. But we need to pick up where we left off with science as far as all the testing that goes into it and then what leads into standards of, I guess, the testing and the sourcing. So would you like to pick up from there?
Certainly. There is a lot of overlap between the science aspect of the other 2 pillars. For example, an important aspect of being able to analyze anything using tools of analytical chemistry or the scientific method is to have some guidance on what you're looking for. An example of that is if we wanted to understand the proper material for this zinc can, we can purchase a standard alloy of metal. We can test it. We can make sure that it's appropriate for the product. Mm-hmm. When we're talking about essential oils, there are no standards available. The National Institutes of Standards and Technology doesn't have a peppermint oil standard. They don't have a lavender oil standard. Yes, I can go and I can purchase something. How do I know it's authentic? How do I know it's genuine? I don't. Unless I grow it, I distill it, I create it, or I watch that whole process being created. I'm present and I can see it go from the plant to the essential oil. Then I know, okay,
Our seed to seal process.
This is authentic. Correct. The seed to seal process. One of our efforts in the research team is to develop standard reference materials for the essential oils and for our other products that we have. Our corporate farms are a wonderful resource to support this science pillar. We're able to grow our own plants. We have our own distillation. We can get the fundamental knowledge required as to what these things should look like so we're able to make a better product.
And so with that then brings in Jessica with the product claims to claim that this did come from the actual plant and we can make the claims that we want about the oil that we produced and did the science and the testing on. And I guess you can dive right into what all happens there.
Sure, yeah. So I'm in a very cross-functional role. So Rich and his team and the rest of the research and development team, they are really the brainchild of the science behind our products and what they do, and our farms as well. I then work with our brand and marketing teams to see, okay, what direction do we want to go? Here's the science. We lay it out. We have meetings. We talk about it. And then we look for, how can we make either a person's home better, a person's life better, right? How can we apply this product, this oil, and make a person's life better, right? How can a person win with Young Living products? And then from there, our substantiation side of things is really when we dig into the science from Rich's team and from other studies around the world that have been published, right? So we've used your father's studies, we've used H.K. Lynn's studies, Dr. Wu we just brought on, right? So your mom introduced him at the New Year's kickoff. So we have a lot of resources. We just have to do the digging and where the compliance and the regulatory component comes in, right? So when we're working with United States products, we have to work very closely with FDA guidelines. Mm-hmm. So essential oils, they're labeled as cosmetic. So we navigate a very interesting space because there's kind of a battle between pharmaceuticals and the essential oil industry,
we
right?
know.
That's probably a whole nother podcast for another day.
Yep.
So, we're looking at a very niche area that we can make claims on our oils with. And then when we branch into other products, other product lines, nutritions, supplement, personal care, home categories, right? So one win that we had last year was getting the Thieves antiseptic wipes and being able to say that they kill 99% of germs. But we have to vet that claim with our substantiation. So we do a lot of in-house testing. I know our charcoal mask, we did an in-house testing to make sure that our claims that we wanted to make with that product were matching what it was actually doing on our skin. So a lot of our science team, they actually took pictures of our faces and we got to see the difference on either side. So yeah, we do a lot of great stuff. So really, how I see my team is we're archivists. We're not doing the research, we're interpreting the research. And sometimes I've used the analogy, I feel like the Lorax. So I'm not
I like that.
I'm not on the legal team. I'm not a lawyer. I don't have a JD, but I speak for the legal team. So, and one issue that we had is there's so much information to digest that it was taking a long time to work with our regulatory bodies. And so by training our team and focusing with, where branding wanted to go, and then with our regulatory guidelines ahead and looking at the science, we're able to streamline that process and get product claims on the labels of our products much faster.
Yeah, it's a whole process. A lot of members, they're like, "Oh, can you do this product and can you do that product?" And with the little time that I worked in R&D and kind of got a bigger understanding with everything, I told them, like, I don't think a lot of you realize just how much paperwork alone goes into creating a product. I mean, it's years worth of paperwork sometimes, testing, the sourcing we have to make sure is good, and then going into the claim side and the legal side is a whole different thing too. There's just so much that goes into making a single product that not a lot of people realize. And so I'm glad that you brought up all of that, because that's another huge part of that people just don't really understand. And, rightly so. So you talk specifically that we have to work, with the FDA when it comes to the US, but we are an international company. So I assume that kind of poses some issues and maybe challenges is the better word with other standards that we have for our products and essential oils. Is that correct? Are there other standards from an international perspective that we have to look at, or what do we do there?
There are a few international standards. It's really paltry in comparison to the number of essential oils that we have. About 35 international standards that describe the composition of essential oils. A few of those talk about the testing techniques and say, this is how you should do the refractive index testing or optical rotation testing for the essential oil. As I said, about 35. These initially started out as French standards to support the perfumery industry, and they were adopted by another international standards organization. The main purpose of those, in my opinion, I say this in my opinion as an analytical chemist, because if I want to test my product against that standard, it's really not a really great information. But if I want to trade some essential oil with you, and I want to say, look, Jacob, I've got this wonderful lavender essential oil from France. And you'll say, well, what does it look like? And what does it smell like? And what are the analytical results? And I can say, well, I don't want to give away too many secrets, but it matches the international standard for lavender from France. And then you have an idea of, oh, okay, I know that much.
Yeah.
Then send me a sample and I'll go from there. And that is one of the main purposes of those standards from a commerce and standpoint in the marketplace.
Okay.
They are a guidance document that we can use for testing and when we're getting oils that we can't necessarily grow from our own farms.
And then as far as with those standards, is it the same claims-wise for those international products as well in the different markets?
I think it's a little bit more complicated. I think it's real. I don't want to use the word easy, but having specific guidelines for quality to prove quality of an oil or quality of a product, you can speak to that. But then the next question is, how can we market that quality, or what can we say about that product in a certain country? So obviously there's several countries. When you break it down into certain, boundaries within all of them, different townships have different regulations. So our regulatory department is vast and expansive. So we have regulatory specialists that work with every continent, every country, and they are subject matter experts in those government regulations. So I mentioned U.S. products earlier. When we have a collaboration with the research and development SME or subject matter expert on that product, we have brand representatives, we have our product team, and we have that regulatory specialist. So regardless of what country it is, we have that regulatory representative there, and they help shape our guidelines. So there are some countries where Canada, essential oils are labeled as, medical supplement, not supplements, but in the medical field. So we can make stronger claims about the function of that oil and what it can do to the body when you're using it versus making only cosmetic claims in the United States. Then there are some, I know Malaysia, the Philippines, they have a lot more stricter guidelines that we have to follow. So, if I were to lay out our claims forms for the different countries for one product, what you can say about it is vastly different. And then,
We've also got a separate claims organization in Australia called TGA. And if the essential oil is approved by TGA, we're able to make very strong claims in some cases for certain essential oils. For example, Kunzia essential oil, we can make claims in Australia about treating arthritis, about treating medical conditions, only in Australia.
Yeah. And that's so interesting how it works that way with the different countries and stuff. This is kind of separate from that, but eucalyptus sometimes causes most of the wildfires in Australia because they just kind of burst into flames sometimes, the eucalyptus trees. And so when we ship eucalyptus over there, it's usually eucalyptus blue. We have to use a specific cap, the fire safety caps, and then we have to put a weird fire icon on it as well. But here in the States, we don't have to do that. So it's just interesting where you go, and it's challenging for both of you to have to look at all the different markets and stuff like that. So I really just want to make sure that people realize that when you are looking at a regular bottle of lavender, all the different labels that have to go on to there, all the different paperwork that your team have had to go through and write up for all of that. I mean, it is extremely complex and amazing with everything that both of you do on your sides to have that product go out to the market and stuff. I just find that astonishing.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of them are actually socially and culturally specific to that area. So an example would be in the United States, cruelty-free, when you're looking for cosmetics or other personal care products, a lot of people are trained to look for that little bunny rabbit sign.
Yeah.
Which means this product was not tested on animals, it's cruelty-free. However, in Europe, it's common knowledge that all of the personal care products legally are mandated to not be tested on animals. So if we were to put a cruelty-free claim on our packaging for one of those products, it almost makes our product or brand look dishonest because they're questioning, why are you putting this on here?
Yeah.
It should always, it's commonplace that it's cruelty-free. So then, that kind of turns into brand reputation. So some of it are legal guidelines guidelines, and others are, social, cultural
Imagery.
guidelines.
Yeah.
And then in certain Asian countries like Japan and China, it comes down to whether or not that product is manufactured in their country. That kind of, it holds more clout, if you will, versus a U.S. product that was manufactured in the United States. And then also science, or if it was tested. So if we do testing, or there's a paper written about our essential oil in China or in Japan, it becomes stronger with the media, and people want to see that. They want to see that the product is made in their country and that it's been tested by scientists in their country. So making sure that we're including testing, or when we're ideating and creating products, that we're including that in our canon of information is really going to help drive the product in that market.
At the same time, that's one of the most rewarding parts about my job, is seeing a product go from infancy, even embryo stage, some ideation, as Jessica talked about, to a finished product, and then see that product change people's lives.
Yeah.
And when we go to convention and we hear stories about the impact that the Young Living products have in the lives and in the homes of everyday people, that's very rewarding.
That's the biggest victory for all of us, I feel like.
Absolutely.
So I think the biggest question that most people have is, when they hear about all this science, the biggest question for them is why. And I know for my father and for all of our family, the science is the biggest part of our industry. It's what sets us apart from everybody else. And I'd love it if both of you could share why we do what we do with our sourcing and our science, and of course our standards now, why we have these standards.
Our goals are to make a quality product that's safe and efficacious. That's a product that will change people's lives.
Yes.
So when you have one of our essential oils, it might have a child-resistant cap on it. That is there for a reason. Some of these oils have a very appealing aroma, and a young toddler might be tempted to take more than might be tempted to use some of it as a beverage.
Yeah.
Also, we have guidance directions, usage directions on the label. Those are there for a reason. And as we've discussed today, the reason is regulatory and compliance, and product safety.
Yeah, and the best way to explain that is like everything has a intended way to use it. Just like your car has a gas and a brake pedal. And if it just had a brake pedal, or if it just had a gas pedal, that would cause a lot of issues. And so those instructions, they're not there to say that the oil itself is dangerous. There's just a intended way to use it, the way that it was meant to be used, and how the oil itself is meant to be used. Correct. That's what you're saying.
That's correct. And the reality is that everything's toxic. Water is toxic. The difference is the dosage. Usage instructions, child-resistant caps, and the science behind our products are all aimed to create a quality product that is safe and efficacious to the users.
I love that. And so I guess for you, Jessica, since you're on the claims side, what sets us apart? Is it all of the sourcing and the science and the standards? Is it just one of the three? And I think it's great for you to share on this so people really understand what makes us truly different from everyone else.
Yeah. So I would say it's everything, right? So it's our science, it's our farms, and it's our standards of quality. So you can walk into a drugstore and you can buy a bottle of essential oil, but you don't really know what's in it. Rich earlier mentioned international guidelines for quality and efficacy of an essential oil. You don't really know what you're getting into. There are synthetic dyes, synthetic chemicals that are being put into those essential oils. Some of our oils we ingest, right? Our vitality oils. If you look something up online and you see, I can take this internally, I just put a few drops in my mouth, and then you go and buy it from your corner store, you might be putting harmful chemicals in it. So I was hired in February of this year, and it has been an amazing journey learning the process of seed to seal. So one of the big things is, I was like, why is a bottle of lavender set at this price? And then I learned about everything that goes into that bottle of lavender, right? So starting with our farms, right? So all of our workers that take care of our plants, not using harmful chemicals. And that's a big thing. I don't want to use something on my body that has been sprayed with harsh chemicals or something that's going to harm me or my family if I'm diffusing it and I'm breathing that in. So really it comes down to the quality, the time and the effort. And then since I've been on the research and development team, just seeing the science, the scientists, the effort, the thought that's being put in there. And I never met your father, but there are so many people around me that knew him and worked closely with him that his standards are still in the building today. And I think that truly is what sets our products apart because of everything that's been laid out in front of us, from our farm workers to our scientists, to our marketers and our brand folks who know the direction that your father and your mother want to go in with those products.
And those standards will always stay in this company no matter what.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I love that you mentioned was talking about the effort that goes into all of our oils and products. And that's why we have the lavender harvest and the Melissa harvest and the winter harvest up in Idaho, that everybody can come and participate and get a glimpse of what all goes into making an essential oil. You know, it comes to the harvesting, then it comes to the distillation, then it comes to the extracting, then it goes off to the lab. And they get to see this whole process. I can't really think of many companies that allow their members to come in and participate in this process as well and see it from literally start to finish. And it's something that my dad set as a bar for everyone else to hopefully follow as well. And I think once again, it's what sets us apart from everything else.
A word I would use is integrity, right? The reason why other companies might not let their customers come in and view it is because they might be hiding something, right? At Young Living, we have nothing to hide. We're very honest. Our integrity is amazing, and and that's why our quality is so fantastic.
Yes. And if you haven't been to any of the harvests, I know you've been to one or two or something like that. We need to have you come to one of the harvests. They are so fun.
That's also my bucket list.
They're great.
They are. And every time I've been to harvest, the message I hear from the members is, you don't charge enough for these oils.
Yep. That's great. Well, thank you both so much for coming on to the podcast and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom and your expertise and all that you do for Young Living and for our field and for everybody here as a whole in the company. Young Living can't do all that it does without you and your teams, and you all put an extremely impressive amount of work into this company and the products and the oils, and I admire that and respect that and really appreciate both of you. I know my father does as well. So thank you both so much for coming on, and hope to have you back again sometime soon.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jacob.
Thanks, Jacob,
for having us.
Yeah.
And thank you for tuning into this episode of the YL Drop. Remember, you can listen on iTunes, Spotify, and on YouTube, and our newly refurbished website at www.youngliving.com. Don't forget to oil up YL family. This is Jacob Young, dropping out. Take care.